things just took a very interesting turn for the Toronto Blue Jays as following the World Series loss, eyes now turn to the Blue Jays' next move, and one pitcher on the Jays revealed not only some very interesting information about his future with the team, but some new reports are starting to surface surrounding the Jays' next move. We're to break that down as well as discuss some comments on Bichette, not only surrounding his future, but also some interesting new details surrounding their Game 7 collapse, as well as a ton of other things on this episode, folks. You're going to want to stay tuned until the end. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. I know it still stings, even a couple days after the World Series loss, but there is things to take care of now. Winter meetings are approaching us and moves are going to be happening, and I'm still super upset, super sad about the loss. However, there's business to take care of here for the Blue Jays now, and hopefully they can get back to the World Series here one day soon, maybe even as soon as next year. But folks, I want to dive into a new report that has surfaced, and a lot of people are talking about it. You can see here from MLB Trade Rumors, they tweeted this out, and this has taken, it hasn't really taken any of the sting out of the loss. We're still going to be diving into some things about Game 7 in this video because more and more information has continued to surface. And of course, Ross Atkins and John Schneider, we assume, are going to speak out either today or sometime this week and the next week. Chris Bassitt is interested in a return to the Jays in 2026. Now, all eyes are on Bichette, all eyes are on Max Scherzer, but this has started to kind of stir the pot a little bit about A, should the Jays consider it, and B, what it means. We know Chris Bassitt was super emotional after the loss, and Bassitt was dominant up until the World Series game as a reliever. And you can see here for several, I'll skip the first couple sentences, but for several of the team's players, and I'll paraphrase this, however, yesterday also marked their last day as a member of the organization. Free agency is officially upon us, so Bassitt's no longer a Blue Jay. Like, technically, they're all free agents, but the veteran told reporters, Chris Bassitt told Keegan Matheson, that he hopes he'll have another chance to play with this group of Blue Jays and that he wants to return to this team. You can see here there's certainly room in Toronto for a rotation for Mixon, Bassitt, and others. Gausman, Yasavage, and Berríos are the three main guys. You have Lauer and Francis and a couple other guys, up and coming. But folks, this is super interesting now because he made it very clear, as well as another starting pitcher who we'll dive into in a minute here, that he wants to be a Blue Jay. And this team is tight-knit. They are special. They are close. And Bassitt wants to return, and a lot of fans started talking about this. If he wants to get paid relief pitcher money and become a relief pitcher, he can come back, but I know teams will pay him as a starter. And this is where I want you guys to comment down below. A, would you pay mid-30s Chris Bassitt, to approaching his late 30s, to start for this team and then be a reliever in the bullpen in the playoffs? Or do you think they should go for a younger approach? Because a lot of people now are saying, okay, we made it to the World Series. Bassitt was a critical part of it. But at this point, you have to go ahead and try to get a little bit younger in the starting rotation because your only youngster right now is Trey Yasavage. He is obviously your young superstar. But beyond that, you have Gausman next year, and Kevin Gausman will be, this is last year of his contract this upcoming season. And José Berríos as well, who had a pretty rough year last year. It makes things interesting. The Jays will likely want more certainty than those internal options, and Bassitt can offer that, and obviously he's dominant. Maybe he'd even take, and this is kind of going to dive into how tight-knit this team was and things like that. There's a chance where he'd maybe take a pay cut. Not a huge one. This is his last contract. Maybe a little one to come back to the Blue Jays, and ultimately that'll be a pretty impossible decision for the Jays to make. Like, not impossible, but a difficult one. Do you take on Chris Bassitt? And, you can use him now in the bullpen, both in the regular season and in the playoffs, or do you go ahead and do you not extend him and or rather not sign a new contract and try to find someone else? So let me know down below what your thoughts are on this because, again, that was his last year of his 3-year, $63 million deal. He was really good as a Toronto Blue Jay, and it's really sad, and it will be really sad if he's remembered as, giving up that one run in the World Series, which ultimately didn't directly cause their loss, but definitely led and contributed to some of it instead of the dominance that he had for the rest of the World Series. Let me know what your thoughts are. A very interesting turn. I don't think many people expected this to be kind of the headliner of yesterday's and today's news, but it is what it is. A few other things to go over here as well. I mean, there's a lot, but let's start with Bichette. Now, there were some more comments that started to surface. Of course, if you watched my video yesterday, there were some comments from Bo saying that he wants to stay in Toronto long term and that his stance has always been, let me stay in Toronto. I want to be here, and I want to win with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And some more comments have started to surface. You can see here, he said, to paraphrase it, I guess, or this is a direct quote, but he said a lot more than this. I wish we could have won it together, and that he basically goes on to say that, this was something he always wanted, and that it's a shame they couldn't win it together. Now, this obviously sparked some people to say, okay, if he said, I wish we could have won it together, it means that he's leaving now, all these different things. I think this is just more of a, this was their golden opportunity. This team hasn't made the World Series in 32 years. And for me, this was their chance to win it all. Now, again, we're going to have to move on. This is sports, right? You have to keep pushing forward. There's going to be lots of news. There's going to be lots of rumors. The Jays are going to be big players on every single free agent, especially after how much money Rogers made thanks to, TV deals and us as fans, but, for buying tickets. It is interesting to see they can still win it together. Like this team, despite their lack of playoff success heading into this season, they have a ton of life left in them. Vladdy's hasn't even started his $15 million deal yet. If you can extend Bo, get some younger pitchers, get some more established aces, make a trade for Taylor Skubal, do something crazy. You can run it right back. You have Clement on a contract. Berger's an up-and-coming star. Alejandro Kirk just got extended at the start of last year, the best deal in history of the Jays, arguably, at least after year one, even though he grounded out to it in the World Series. But obviously not one of the best of all time, but a very, very good contract for the Jays, right? You have a lot of these guys locked up. Varsho, you're going to have to negotiate a contract deal with him soon, even though he had, again, a horrible postseason, in the horrible World Series. Fine, rest of postseason. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And let me know down below your thoughts on this. Another interesting twist. I think he does stay, but that is the number one question among other things. And it's going to be interesting. And Tyler Heineman gave some words as well. Feel free to pause and read it. But it just goes to show, like, everyone on this team is saying how close they were to, how close knit they were together, how much they loved each other's company, how the hardest part about this isn't necessarily, not only rather the loss itself, but how good friends they were with each other. Chris Bassitt crying in John Schneider's arms and his shoulder. Everybody was so tight knit that it makes the loss sting even worse. And yes, we know, I made a video on it yesterday. The IKF slide cost them all these different things. These guys were it was true friendship, right? From Chris Bassitt down to Tyler Heineman and everybody. So it sucks. They'll probably bring Tyler Heineman back next year. I think they should do that. But the standard's set. Go out, and you see that last sentence. We have set the standard, and you better believe we'll be back sooner rather than later until 2026. And you got to believe as well if the Jays are going to go out of their way to extend Heineman. What a crucial part of the season. What an unbelievable backup catcher he was this year. And for the journeyman who's been on a million different teams, the Jays multiple times, for him to have that year as well is truly unbelievable. But let me know down below your thoughts on that. A few other things here. The Jays got absolutely robbed. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit, and I'll probably might even have a full video on this. No Gold Glove for Kirk. No Gold Glove for Jimenez. No Gold Glove in the for Ernie Clement. The only guy who got a Gold Glove was now free agent Ty France, who was in the Blue Jays for a few months and barely even played the playoffs. So to rub extra salt into the wound here, no Gold Glove for the boys, which is kind of sad, kind of depressing. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially as you look now into the free agency period, into the future. And question will now start to arrive. Does this make a free agent want to come now after their fantastic win? And I'm going to have a full video covering that either later today or tomorrow. The answer is yes. And this is the beginning of something hopefully even more special than last year. But folks, I know the loss is still hurting. Your guys' support, it has really meant the world to me in the comments. You guys are being super positive, and that's making me feel better even though the Jays lost. So keep leaving those positive comments. You guys are peace.